So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this event here today in our Google Oslo office. My name is Anne Sofie Risaasen, and I am the leader for Google Cloud here in Norway. And I'm so happy to have you all here today to discuss this really interesting topic that we really see is increasing now exponentially in everything we discuss with our clients every day. It's around AI agents, Gemini Enterprise, and what is happening now around this topic. So, as I said, I am the country leader for Norway for Google Cloud, and I have some of my colleagues with me here today also presenting to you, and I will go through a little bit more about that later. We have a full house today, so it will probably be also a few extra people coming in. So just please make sure you all have space and what you need of coffee and food, which is just outside. And we will have a good half day together. So in 2024 and 2025, we focused on the potential of generative AI. It was personal productivity, and it has really increased a lot through tools like Notebook LM that I hope some of you have tried. Anyone? A few, yes, quite a few. We also have deep research that I think probably some of you have tried. And we have LLMs. And this is like Gemini, for example, is including in all our productivity tools. So this is doing a lot with our personal productivity. And we have worked on this now for the last couple of years. I personally use Gemini Enterprise every day, and I'm really amazed of what it gives me on personal productivity and how really good I am now in English when I'm writing emails. You know, it's perfect. Now in 2026, the conversation has shifted and it has matured. So how do we make sure that we don't work in isolation, but that we connect our work to what others do across the whole organization that we are a part of? We also want to scale efficiently, and we want to move beyond the single productivity and the agents that we have, maybe each of us. I actually also made my first agents just a couple of weeks ago, but that was for me. So what is now happening in 2026 is that we are going to work as a team, and the full organization should increase productivity, innovation, collaboration, efficiency, and the way of working. And that trend and what we are working towards is this multi-agent architecture. And this shift is not just a technical trend. It's a response to what we see happening when we start working with AI and generative AI. So what are some of the difficulties that we see? We have a lot of information. We have it in emails, we have it in spreadsheets, we have it in chats. And you know, when you're going to work with all that and all different systems that you're working on, and to get all that information and take decision, that is part of what we are struggling with right now. We understand it's a potential there, but how do we really make it work? And then we have the technical barrier that some people in HR, in marketing, in finance, they see, I think I can do this much better. I can improve productivity, but I don't have the skills to code and really understand how I can use it. And also make my own agents. So they see that there is an automation potential, but they're maybe not able to do it. And we started with chatbots. That was kind of the start of AI. We felt like now we are really making a lot out of this, but that is now we are really getting by that and seeing a much bigger potential. And to really get the full business transformation, we need a much better architecture. We had shadow IT. You probably remember that. Now we have shadow AI, which means that all the different units are starting, but maybe not able to connect everything together. So that is now the next step. How do we actually do that? Also, when you have this shadow AI, as we had with shadow IT, the security risks are high. The governance, how do we do that? How do we make sure that the information is really secure? So there's lots of topics in this that we are going to discuss. So we are going to discuss today all these topics and find out how we can challenge with a multi-agent architecture and multi-agent systems. We have been working with this in Norway for a while already. And customers are quite quick in Norway to start to deploy some AI agents. And we have some use cases we have worked on. For example, shopping list builders. Have you heard about that agent? Yes. Take a picture of a receipt and then you can get your shopping list. I mean, it's a very easy use case, but it's also really wow, and it helps you. Then we have something troubleshooting and translation agent in retail that we have worked on. I don't know if any of you have worked on that. We have information gathering in hospitality. How do we really make sure when you're working in hospitality and travel, how are you going to help your clients or your users? We have conversational roaming offers in telco. Some of these agents even have their own names. We see quite a lot of these agents now with our different clients. In addition to this, we also see some of our clients have given this AI tools into all their employees. And one of those tools is Gemini Enterprise. And when all the employees start using that, you really get the productivity up, you get the collaboration up, you get innovation up, and you also can do better decision making. And everything is done in a secure environment, with a good governance. So that's also, we see some are really going all the way with implementing these kind of tools to all employees. So there are all kinds of AI agent work at the moment. So what are we going to discuss today? As you can see here, we have a great agenda, and we will first start with the agentic future from our data and AI customer engineer, Jonathan Seim, who will come on stage after me. And he will talk about scientific breakthrough, innovation at scale, and the next generation of AI interactions. Then we will have a holistic view on the workplace transformation and transforming work with AI agents. And we will have our Nordic and also our Norwegian lead for Google Workspace and Gemini working or on stage here with us. Then we will have a break. But in that break, don't miss the demo that Joachim is going to have. He will show you how this productivity tools looks like. After a break, we will continue with our French-Norwegian customer engineer, Jeremy. He will talk about Google AI solutions. And he will have some really cool things to show you, so don't miss it. And then to really bring everything to life, we have our customer, Abax, here also to talk about how they are working and how they are going from single agent to enterprise-wide adoption of Gemini Enterprise. So I really look forward to today also to mingle with you in the breaks. And then I will handle the stage over to you, Jonathan.
Fine. Hello, good morning. The agentic future, right? So after this morning, I'm rather convinced that AI could do a lot of stuff, but the day it can help me bring a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old out the door on shorter time than planned, that would be great. But I think there's a time before the agent can do that. And honestly, I'm a bit afraid if there's a humanoid agent actually doing that with one objective in mind, and that is to get them out the door. It could be quite frightening as well. But the agentic future, and I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes talk about how we think of agents right now, and what problems we think we need to solve as enterprises and companies to really get the value from them, and how we're building for that shift. But before diving into the details of how we're enabling agents, Anne-Sophie mentioned that we're going to look at the scientific breakthroughs. And I think even though we are in February now, it's still quite fresh into the year. And I think it's a good time to reflect back on what we actually achieved back in 2025. Right? So there's a lot of news and a lot of new releases happening on the AI front at all times. And a lot of them is about how capable the next new model is, which kind of takes a bit the attention away from a lot of small but really, really important breakthroughs. So as a company, and we're just one out of many, although we're a large one, we have more than 3,000 researchers in Google DeepMind, absolutely driven by research. But this is just a handpicked of my favorite examples of all the breakthroughs we had scientifically during the last year. Robotics, I encourage you on your way home today, if you have a spare moment, go into YouTube, look at Hannah Fry visiting the Google DeepMind robotics lab. It's amazing. Not only what the robots can do with closing small of these Ziploc ties and folding paper and so on, but also how the agents that powers these robots are capable of learning new things they've never been trained on. How you just give them a tool and ask them to do something, and they try as a human, and eventually they make it happen. Really, really interesting series on YouTube. We had world models with Genie and agents playing in real world models. So world models is not about creating video. I'm going to talk about that as well, because that is cool. But world models is about trying to create synthetic worlds, 3D worlds. And why is that important on the way to AGI? Because if we're going to have intelligence that are general, it needs to understand how the world works. And with the ability to create worlds, we can create training grounds for those agents, right? This significant breakthrough. Quantum computing, Michel Devreux got his Nobel Prize in Physics last year for breakthroughs and research on quantum computing. It's going to be the next big shift for sure, right? But there's also, I wouldn't say fun and games, but a bit more easy to grasp concepts that happened last year, right? Video generation really leapfrogged from being something that could potentially be fun, but it's now a quirky dog that is doing some bathroom, into a tool where you could actually create very, very high quality, cinema quality content. We had the first ads on national TV, on YouTube, fully created and orchestrated by AI end-to-end. One of my favorite breakthroughs is the R2V, where you could take now a handful of images, put them into your prompt, and say, create me a video from this starting point.
Hello, is anybody here? What's going on?
And you can, I mean, if you ask any user that can write English or whatever language you can write, and you can just take a few pictures and can upload them and you can create something out of that quality. Obviously, that opens the doors for creativity, but also in our world, in the enterprise world, a new world for marketing and how you produce content. Not only the external marketing, what if you could do that to create internal communications and marketing as well? So there's a lot of exciting things happening. Obviously, there was one winner. If I need to pick one breakthrough in 2025, that was Gemini 3, right? So Gemini 3 launched in December. We had the Pro version launching first. Now the Flash version is also available. It's by far, if you look overall, and this is from LM Arena starting Feb 1st, so that was last week, right? Or this week, actually. We just picked it last week at least, but it's the top 3 of LM Arena, and it's been like that since December when Gemini 3 was launched. So what makes Gemini 3 exceptionally capable in a new step? That is, it keeps the massive context window that Gemini have had since the launch. That is important, right? A massive context window means that you can put a lot more data into the prompts, into the reasoning capabilities. There's a lot less plumbing you need to do to make good answers. You don't necessarily need to do RAG for all use cases because you just need to pick the relevant pieces. You can provide large data sets without doing pre-analysis. But eventually, things doesn't scale with context window, right? So things scales when the AI models can use tools. So on the data front, for instance, it's great if you can put 1 billion rows of some data set into the prompt and you have it to analyze it. But it's even better if you can have the model understand that if I write a Python script and I run that on that large data set, I actually get the answer I want. Or I can do tens or hundreds of different Python analysis on that data set. And that's what it can do with native tool use. But then the model needs to understand, so how do I use all these different tools? I have a dozen of MCP servers or whatnot. So it needs deep reasoning capabilities to really understand what is the good plan and how do I make a plan and follow my plan, and to what extent am I able to then use a long range of tools. So with Gemini 3, I think we're finally there where we can have the agents or the AI applications do something, right? We're entering the world of action or the area of action or agents. But in reality, it means we can get the AI to do stuff for us, right? And hands in there, how many of you have built any type of AI system at this point, like an assistant, an agent, you're using AI in any shape or form? And then keep your hand up if that system is doing something, like autonomously. You don't need to think of it. All right, so 4 out of 40, that's 10%, right? So, and I think that's fair. I don't think you should be ashamed if you didn't have your hand up. But I think the core difference here is that we can have AI, an assistant that helps us read a mail, or we can have it actually to write the email for us. But an agent, on the other hand, that writes up the email, it sends it, but then it also follows up when someone doesn't answer, right? And let me join me in on this very, very high level and artificial example. But imagine now that you are having a supply chain to manage, right? For some of you, that is probably harder than others, but I think you can join me on having any type of production plant where you have a supply chain. And then you've been working tirelessly for many years on building AI capabilities, on predicting how that supply chain is potentially delayed or changes in that supply chain, right? So we have a predictive AI system that says, whoop, we have a incoming shipment with supply to our manufacturing floor that is delayed. That's many have that, and that's typically predictive AI. And then we build an AI system on top of that, which is typically you get prompted and you say, all right, so what do I do? And it says, so you can check if there's other suppliers and you can see if you have it on stock elsewhere. And you ask it to check a specific warehouse for a specific SKU, and it's connected to your database and it's connected to a system. So it does that API call for you, and it tells you, it can even tell you that, yes, one of the warehouses had 200, but you need 500. And then you need to buy it, and it can help you find suppliers and contact. You get the point here, right? It's very helpful because you get information at your fingertips in one window, but you still need to do everything yourself. You still need to go in and type everything. And how many of you have been paralyzed by that prompt thing of, oh, I can get the AI to do it. I just know that I will spend so much time writing that very long, very detailed prompt to get it exactly as I want. I just get started myself. And I can see some nodding here, right? But the agent, on the other hand, is now capable, and this is not science fiction at all, right? It can get that notification. It can say, all right, so if that part is missing, then that line will stop. And I know that the cost is approximately that per day. So that gives me approximately that total thing. So what should I do then? I'll use a tool to check my ERP system to see if there's any pre-approved vendors that could help me resupply that. I use another tool to speak to another agent from one of those suppliers to get a quote and hold the stock for that. And then I reason and understand that even though there's a very premium for getting that air shipped right now, it's still cheaper for me than stopping up my factory. So then I prompt the user and say, hey, there's a problem here and I found a solution. Press OK if you want it or not. That's what we mean with agents, right? And when that is done at scale, it's going to be impactful. But there's a way there, right? There's a lot of things to do. To build these autonomous systems, there's challenges that isn't really new to us, right? We need high quality data. If that agent is going to do decisions on your behalf, it better be fueled with the right insight, right? You don't want stale data. And we're still having a challenge getting the data platforms right? We're getting there, but there's still a job to do. You need a platform to build on. Anna-Sophia mentioned that, shadow IT, shadow AI. The problem is that many of us have been through this journey of going from large monolithic applications into small microservices and smaller applications. There's always something outside, right? And in the world, so these AI agents, they are nothing more than an application, right? I don't think we should trick ourselves into believe that this is so much more than a piece of code in an application. Obviously, there's components in that code that are new with the agent, but we still need to treat that agent development as software development, right? You need a platform to do that. You need the same principles, but the way you test the agent is not the way you've tested code for 20, 30, 40 years. That was deterministic testing, right? Unit test, you just write something, do testing, and then ship it off. With the agents, you do evaluation, right? Which is not deterministic by nature. So you need to rethink if I'm going to allow my company to flow on that wave and use that technology, how am I going to enable people to actually build things that are not giving me a bunch of technical debt in the next corner, right? And they're not turning into this too autonomous part of a lot of agents that doesn't really control. So that's what we're trying to solve with our agentic stack and our agentic tools, is to provide that platform, every layer of the stack, to help companies build those agents the way we build them. And I mean, we're not always right, but sometimes we are. And at least the Google agentic stack is how we build agents at Google, right? It's the components that we use to build Gemini and others that we enable. It's obviously our infrastructure and runtimes and models, but I think most importantly, the piece in the middle here, the piece that we strongly believe needs to be in place for this to scale across businesses. A way for us, so these are open frameworks. Agent development kit, highly opinionated by us, obviously, but still open source. You could take it, you can run it on any container, anywhere with any LLM model. Agent-to-agent protocol, which is a proposal that is now gifted to Apache. Everyone is joining that. It's a way for agents to communicate. Think of TCP for agents, right? It's a way for agents to communicate without sharing the specific database credentials or without sharing the specific memory or anything. It's a clean cut. And payments protocol and universal commerce protocol that is now coming as well. So protocols that enables us to actually do meaningful things like payments and transactions with verifiable credentials. Gemini Enterprise is the way we enable that power and that structure for every user in the company. Think of that as the front door to Google's AI for everyone. So all that underlying infrastructure, all those models, is enabled in a no-code, low-code interface where you can govern. So Jeremy is going to show you how Gemini Enterprise actually works. So I'll limit myself to a few slides here on telling you the concepts, and then he'll dive deep into that just after the break. But the idea is that day one, when you sign, so Gemini Enterprise is a software as a service thing, right? You deploy it, with press of a button, you log in, you have access to Gemini models and all the video models, everything in an enterprise context. It's governed from your cloud environment, your security controls, your sign-on. It's not in a shared infrastructure. It's in your cloud project. And then you enable your employees to not only connect to the context of the rest of the business, which Matthias is going to dig deeper on as well, but also enables your employees to build those agents without coding experience. Because what's so beautiful with generative AI and agents, they can write code. So we've taken the learnings from anti-gravity, from all the projects we're doing on AI-generated code, and enabled business users to go in and write what type of agents they would like to do and build it. And scale it and govern it in a platform that is in line with your enterprise policies. And then we're building a few agents that we're providing you out of the box. We call it the task force in this very fancy slide. But that is deep research, that is notebook LM, that is ID generation, that is a data agent that goes directly on BigQuery. And there will probably be more agents that we build ready for your employees to use. But then we think next, and potentially most impactful, is when you can connect to other agents outside your enterprise, like small applications. This is not a proprietary standard. This is agent-to-agent protocol. This is an open standard where any company on the planet can build an agent. They can provide it on the Google Cloud Marketplace, and you can consume it, or your employees can consume it in Gemini Enterprise. So why is it important to bring that agent creation capabilities to your employees, to everyone? Because the people that are doing the work, they're probably the experts on how that work should be done. We all know that it is challenging to build a software for solving a specific problem in a specific domain without the domain expertise. It's doable, but it demands a lot of project management. It demands a lot of understanding what is actually happening under the hood. If you put this technology that is so accessible that everyone can use in the hands of the experts of that specific process, in the hands of the experts on that particular part of your business, then it's much more likely they would yield a better result. And they will get an agent that is solving the important stuff of that process. So that is one key thing. The other is having one place to govern them all. So we don't think there will be only one type of agents across any enterprise. I think that's pretty obvious. You will have very customized, high-code agents that are built by a team of specialists. It's written on code and it's deployed somewhere. And you will have agents that are built by employees. Could be personal productivity. It could be company-wide things that are not too advanced or built in a tool like this. And you will have third-party agents. Imagine, I saw there was a Slack community on. Imagine you're using Slack as well, right? So there's a Slack agent you want to bring in. Imagine you have another ERP system that builds an agent that you want to consume from the same interface. So connecting all of them into one front door, where you can govern access, you can monitor, you can run security checks, you can evaluate, and you can also control what is shared across my company, is what we're trying to solve for. One of the things we're solving for. And I have one final remark, and that is why. So why should we do all that? I mean, intuitively, it sounds good to have an agent that's just doing things, right? When we looked at the supply chain example. But if you look at the impact, because this also has a cost to it, right? It has a cost to it to buy these systems, to buy these tools. So this is from the McKinsey State of AI in November last year. But they've looked at a lot of, interviewed a lot of companies to look at who is actually gaining, who is having positive ROI on their AI investments. And there's a small group that is having a significant impact directly on EBITDA from AI. It's only 6% by now, but there's some key things, some key success factors that is very significant among that top group. And that is that they're rethinking what they're building with AI. They're not just doing exactly the job exactly as I've always done it, just having AI to do it, like the assistant that helps me do things 10% faster, but I'm still doing it the exact same way. They're allowing themselves with either with how they organize or how they operate or how they build to dare to do things a bit differently than what they've always done. And there is one very easy way to try to understand how that can happen. You don't need to pay McKinsey millions to help you rethink and re-architect them. You can also just go into Gemini and you can go into ID generation or just a regular Gemini Pro, and you can say, so this is what I'm doing. Give me some ideas and questions I should think about on how I should rethink that specific process. Or you could, of course, do it with any other model as well, right? It would be like using BCG instead of McKinsey, I guess, or the other way around. Depends on which model and your relation. But so my final point here is we need to enable everyone with the tools, especially those that knows how things are done, that knows the details of the processes, that can understand just by looking at the first output, this is super good or this is really, really bad. That's when you get very high pace on that flywheel, right? When you have those domain experts in the loop of building these systems. And that's what we believe is the most important thing. And I think with that, I'll leave the word to Matthias, which is going to take us even further into the platform we're building, enabling everyone.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes, so this is me a couple of years ago. My hair is getting grayer, I guess, and if my voice is a little bit shaky, it's probably because I got up like 4:30. So I would love to have had an agent that could actually bring me here faster. But it did help me yesterday, basically saying that, hey, you should probably get to bed pretty early because you have a pretty early, wake up call coming up. So it does help me in different ways for that as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about transforming work with agents, and I will set it in a context of what Workspace is and what Gemini Enterprise is, and a little bit also how they tie together. So I'd love to have the first question basically asking, how many of you are Workspace users today? Some, so like maybe 40%-ish, which basically means that we have a few to still convince, and you probably use something else, I suppose. So Google Workspace, just for you that doesn't use it, is a cloud-native communication and collaboration platform, including integrated tools for email, chat, video conferencing, and a full Office suite. So basically, if you use Google Workspace, you have everything you need to do your daily work in a very, very efficient way. I argue a much more efficient way than if you use one of the big competitors that we have. And it is 3 billion users today using Gmail, chat, calendar, and so on already on the planet. And if I go a little bit deeper, just to clearly define what it is. So Drive, which was with this one, is basically where you store all your data, all your files, all your personal files or shared files that you have in your organization. When you collaborate, then you can create docs, which would be, traditional Word documents, if I use that word. And then you will also have presentations, sheets, and so forth that you actually use on your daily work and how you do it. And for those of you that don't use it, we co-collaborate and we co-create all of these documents all the time. So even if we write emails, we have set up a doc where we have an email template where we fill it all out with everything, and we can collaborate on creating that email, and then with just a click of a button, we send it out. But then we also have, of course, how we connect with each other. So we have chat, of course, and chat is becoming better and better every day with channels and personal chats and everything. And you might be using Slack, some of you, and so on. And we're actually seeing more and more that our customers is moving from Slack to chat, because we have all that functionality now coming in as well to our platform. And from a Meet perspective, it's basically what we're using here to present, but it's also what we use on a daily basis with all of our video conferencing. And then you have the traditional mail and calendar. I would suppose you use that pretty often in your daily work, and so on. But in all of this, we've also plugged in Gemini. So from the 15th of February last year, we basically gave away Gemini as part of the whole suite of products. So you would then use AI to find and manage your files, or you use AI to write documents, or you use AI to summarize your meetings and get the meeting notes in meetings you might not even were part of. And it works like a charm. It's like super, super good. And then, of course, like Ann-Sofie said, writing emails and so on, make it very good in English and so forth, super smooth, and it works perfectly. And then to the far left, we have also Gemini, of course. You would get access to the Gemini app, which you basically can ask for anything. And you would also have Notebook LM as part of this as well. Anyone use Notebook LM? Perfect, love it. So we'll come back to that as well. So that's a view of where we are with Google Workspace. And just to point it out, we have a decade of bringing AI to work. So we started a long time ago on doing what now becoming AI in different ways. So you can see, all the things that have happened over time and how we kind of have developed it. And I think Jonathan talked quite a lot about this as well, how chatbots is kind of where we were and maybe where we're asking as well, maybe still do. But also how it kind of transforms now into workflows that are a bit rigid, but still you can define them to accomplish a specific outcome, or you use then powered agents that can basically take action on your behalf, and they can basically call other systems to do things for you as well. One funny just addition to kind of a semi thing between chatbots and agents. Before Christmas, we like Nobel Prizes in Google, right? So we got a few. So I decided to give my team Nobel Prizes as well. So I wrote basically a small prompt saying, hey, can I get a Nobel Prize for each of my team members? These are the traits. This is what they achieved. Maybe this was a bit of their challenges and so forth. And then it creates all of these 6 different Nobel Prizes. But it didn't stop there. It basically said, hey, would you also like to have an intro speech? I said, yes, yeah, for sure. It writes me a perfectly, intro speech for this. And then it says, hey, do you also want to have an intro song to play when they get up to collect the prize? Yes, for sure. Normally the refrain is called refrain in English. Like the verse starts like 45 seconds in. Fantastic. I put that one in. And then it basically asked me in the end, do you also want to have an outro speech? Yeah, I would. So that was me starting with the chatbot, but it actually helped me take myself along this road as well. Very good, and I love it a lot. I think you might have said it, but you said it a little bit differently. But this is how Sundar defined what an agent is. So basically, we think of agents as systems that combine the intelligence of advanced AI models with access to tools so they can take actions on your behalf and under your control. I know it's exactly what you pointed out with your little notes, on how to do things. And I think that's the key thing to remember in this, that this is kind of the ultimate outcome where we want to get with everything. One of the challenges we have when we're talking about agents and we're talking about AI and we're talking about data is that we have different type of data or different type of contexts. So workspace would be in the blue for user context. Basically data you have control over, system you have control over, system you work with on a daily basis. And these would be the calendar, the email, docs, and the chats, and so on. And then we have the enterprise context, which is more like global, maybe data, different type of repositories of data across your organization. And the friction here is then in the boundaries that are in between these. And that's what we need to solve. And that's really what we're trying to do with Gemini Enterprise and Google Workspace. So in our imagination, we are introducing the agentic workplace. So we have Workspace, we have Gemini Enterprise, and then we have a workplace where you can basically thrive and do everything with these different solutions or these different products. And these will break these silos and make sure that we have like a unified, secure platform where everything basically happens. We got some really, really good already. I can take this picture, by the way. But for Gemini Enterprise, how we can orchestrate all of these agents. And that's really one of the key things, to have all of these agents that I created, agents that my company have created for me, or maybe want me to use, and the opportunity to have new and other agents coming in as well as part of this. But of course, this is also connecting to all of these sources that I need to get information from if I'm going to be more efficient than just using my personal data and information. From a workspace perspective, then we would want to elevate this from this individual level and the team level to have like a complete productivity solution. And the way we will do it here is that we can either use the chat window, if you call it, the Gemini chat, or we use all of the built-in solutions that you automatically have at your fingertips. We also have flows, which Joachim will come into a little bit more as well. So it was used to be called flows, now it's called Workspace Studio. So basically where you build your own agents and happenings within your data, within your daily life. So one of my agents that I have is basically summarizing all of my emails that I have and saying, hey, these are the things you need to take action on. I get that 9 o'clock every morning. Our VP, he created an app basically saying, when I get an email from Thomas Kurian, act on it. If the sentiment is like a little bit harsh, maybe, send me both an email and a chat. And please copy my assistant to it as well, so I can immediately go and do things. So you can do a lot of different solutions and agents yourself using that. And then you just do a no-code solution as well, just pointing and saying, this is how I do it, this is what I would like to do. So when we look at it, we put it like this. We have Workspace, the foundation for your individual productivity, powered by Gemini. And then we add Gemini Enterprise, which then will be the orchestrator of all the agents that we have shared in global context. And we also have the flexibility and choice for all of your applications. And you had all tried Gemini Enterprise, had you? Or at least some? Yeah? Hand up, yeah. So we need to look at it later on. But basically, when you go in, you can also see all the sources that you are searching through and using, as the repositories. And these are some of them. It's a lot. It basically means that you don't necessarily have to move all data to one system. Maybe it's convenient, but you could also, have a solution where you don't do that. And we then can have all the agents that support you on every workflow and every day. And as always, built on a trusted and resilient platform. And I think this is one also key aspect on this, that we are like a super secure platform that you can use trustworthy. I'll give you a few examples as well on how this could play out in time, some use cases. So we take a marketing scenario as an example. We want to have the 25's best performing campaigns. And to get that, then we basically use both Sheets and the CRM system to summarize and generate a personalized video, which then increase the campaign ROI as an example. Another one could be for a developer that you use both Gmail and Jira and combine those two to get the results that you want to get out of it, which then would result in a lower issue and resolution time. Or maybe you just use Docs and Workday from an HR perspective to help you with all of the different external profiles and identify, maybe good candidates and so forth. So these are examples of how you would be able to combine all of these data sources and your personal information and your personal productivity tool to enable and get good things done in a quick manner. I mentioned it already. This is the platform that is built for Workspace. And another example, just to give you a simple workflow of how you could do things as well. If you want to do a sales enablement training for your organization, you would go into your drive where you have all your data. And you would basically ask it and say, hey, can you give me all the different documents, product releases, product information that we have available for the past 6 months? That data you then put into a Notebook LM. And then using the Notebook LM to create the mind map, as an example, or you prompt it to export an outline to Docs. And then you use Docs and Gemini to fill out that outline with the information from that repository of documents that you have added. So suddenly you have a complete list of basically things you need to go through with your sales team as part of your sales enablement. And then you put it into presentations and create a slide for that, or for that matter, use vids or something else that we also have and create a movie of it. You can have a voiceover. So in a very, very simple way, take it to something very tangible for your organization. Another super simple one. Many of you might be doing business reviews, or maybe your boss wants to do a business review with you. So maybe one of the questions is like, how did you perform this quarter compared to last quarter? Super simple question, but put it into Sheets, just prompt it, get the information out. Then you upload it to the Gemini app and say, hey, can I get a strategic narrative for the quarterly performance? And then you go into Ann-Sofie and you present and say, this is how fantastically well I did this last quarter, with a nice presentation. And you also have a possibility to maybe leave it behind in a doc or something like that. So some simple examples of how you would do it. And Jonathan was into this. We've been doing this for like the past years, been selling first Duet AI, then we sold Gemini Enterprise, and then we included Gemini Enterprise into Google Workspace. And what we have seen is that it's been a lot of ideation and experimentation done. We have had isolated usage for simple tasks. And we have seen also that organizations tend to restrict who gets AI and who doesn't get AI. So we kind of make a difference between different people in the organization. And we argue that now is the time to move. And to do that, you need to do change management. You need to work with your organization to make sure they are with you on this train. And if you're not on the AI train, I'd advise you to get on it as soon as possible, because the train is leaving. It actually left already. So just get on it as fast as possible. And make sure, that you have a way to work with this, and make sure that you create agents that will support you and train the organization to develop them as well. And make sure that you have a widespread access to accelerate this, because the power is when everyone is using this. And I would argue, don't say, oh, the factory workers, as an example, they don't need it. Rather think about how could they use it? because that's, I think, when you really get the power going for this as well. It's over 10 million businesses using Workspace today, and for them, we're now adding Gemini Enterprise on top of this as well. And for those that we have now with Workspace and Gemini, we see the business value increasing. And we would look at it, from a productivity perspective as an example, where you get more things done with less time, or you can maybe improve your quality of work. Maybe you get the better employee engagement when everyone get access to these tools and really, start to learn on how to do things. Maybe they're happier and want to stay longer because you have provided them with a modern platform that they can work and do their work on. In innovation, of course, you're unlocking generative AI across your organization. You're truly helping you and your organization to shift to even new things to do within your company with innovation and growth of that. And all of this is then accumulating the business value of how you do your work and how you do it. Goldman Sachs defined it and said that 15% of productivity gains could be expected from this. That would be about 6 hours a week, almost a day. So my last question is, what would you do with that extra time? So with that, Joachim, stage is yours for a demo.
Tack. Ska vi se. Okay. Yes. Okay. La oss se om. Okay, in English. Sorry. Let's see if we can build an agent with Workspace Studio in under 5 minutes, and like an agent that is actually useful. So let's just start. So what you see here is Workspace Studio, which is a place where you can build agents and flows inside of Google Workspace. And what I will do here is that I am now owning a company, and we are collecting feedback on our products from customers. And I'm using this feedback form, which is just a normal feedback form, to collect feedback from users. And what I want the agent to do is that I want it to go through all the customer feedback that comes in. And if something is urgent, I want it to give me immediately a message about that, and also write an answer in an email that could be used to answer the customer, so that I don't need to go through all the feedbacks. I want AI to scan it and see if something is urgent for me to act on. So what I will do then is so here in Workspace Studio, you have a lot of templates you can use to create an agent. But what I would like to do is to ask it to create something for me. And I just have the prompt here to help a little bit. But what I will do is, when a form is submitted, use Gemini to analyze the sentiment. If the sentiment is negative and the matter is urgent, notify me in chat and draft a response. So what I will do is I will start creating that, and then I will go here and just create a feedback. So bug reports, and here I want to give a very hard feedback. I am writing this because our entire production line B is currently dark. The GT 900 units we received this morning are failing. If we don't have a replacement tech on site by 6 p.m., we will be forced to invoke the termination clause and go to a competitor. So this is a serious business. Get your shit together. So I submit this now, and now I go back and I see what Google Workspace Studio has built based on the prompt I put in. And now you can see that it has created some steps. The first step is the form. So I connected to the form, the customer feedback form that I have. So now the first step is to connect it to that one. And now it extracts the response, and it decides if it's urgent, and then it notifies me in chat that something urgent has popped up, and then it drafts an email. And the email is to, so actually now I want to add a step here, extract the email. So yeah.
Don't look at the clock.
Email. I want to extract this one. Here, I want this to be like this. And what I can do now is that I can do a test run. I start to do the test run now of the agent, and you can see that it takes the response, it extracts it, if something is urgent, check if true, notify me in chat, and drafts an email. And let me see. I got the message from it here. Yeah, the time is out, but it sent me everything. So here it says something is urgent. And I do have here in drafts, I do have the draft. So it will create a draft based on what I wanted it to create it on. And here you can see that I could have, of course, automated it even more, like send the email or something like that. But I chose to have a human in the loop where I will get the draft and get the notification of what it is planning to send. But you get the drift. You're able to create agents very fast right now by just going into Workspace Studio, asking it something with natural language like this. So what we will do in the break is that we have 3 laptops outside so that you can, and we have some scenarios that you can test yourself so that you can test to create some agents if you like to do that. So I will be there helping you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I was very nervous on your minutes, but you made it. So very good. I think at least I will go back and make that agent as well. So it's increasing everyday ideas on how you can use these tools. So I spend some time every day now in Gen AI, and it's like a shift in the way you think. You're starting to think, how can I use Gen AI with how I work, instead of thinking, oh, I do everything I'd have to do that day, and then I have half an hour in the end of the day where I can start thinking about that topic. So it's really a shift, mindset shift. Okay, so now we have a coffee break, and you can also see and try out what Joachim just showed you, and also discussed with all our experts which are here. And we will see you back at 10 or 5 past 10. And then we will have some really cool examples, and also some real a client on stage here talking to you. So see you back half an hour.
Your eyes hold galaxies I can't outrun. A wildfire sparking under the sun. Every breath you take rewrites my fate. A love so loud it bends the weight. Endless glow, you're the fire I can't let go. Endless glow, in your light I find my soul. We danced on edges where shadows play. Turn the night into a brand new day. Your laugh's a melody I can't unhear. A rhythm that keeps pulling me near. Endless glow, you're the fire I can't let go. Endless glow, in your light I find my soul. vou te ver. Eu acho que eu e você sempre somos dois. Ensolarada, apaixonada, minha luz é ser amada por você.
que você está fazendo, como O que você está fazendo? Eu acho que tudo volta ao começo. A gente gosta de mar, de mergulhar em nossas almas. A solidão é ruim quando eu não te tenho. Meu pensamento. O que você quer? Cadê você? Passei na vida esperando teus beijos. Além disso, teus olhos falam de tempo. Mas eu só quero acabar contemplando teu sonho. A lua cheia fica aqui, embaixo nossos pés. Eu preciso de você.
Eu preciso de você. Eu preciso de você. Rain on fire, drown my sorrows, wipe the tears. Honey, eyes are melting. Your sharp words that you fade away. Bring them back to life. And how could I be blind for such a fool? My wound is growing every day, but somehow I'm not afraid. Time is friction in our bond. We just got our paper bone, running out of faith. They won't return. Rain on fire, drown my sorrows, wipe the tears. Honey, eyes are melting. Would you take a necklace night as I dive into your mind? In my collection twice. And how could I be blind for such a fool? My wound is growing every day, but somehow I'm not afraid. Falling, he just pushed me to the edge. But now that I've hit the ground, I will keep on falling. hasta que mis demonios decidan atajarme.
In my dreams I'm like a mortal man. Sometimes I can see the water dance. I just wait for the moment here to see you at my side and hold my hand. Dreams I can lie, in my dreams I can smile, in my dreams I can try like a mortal man. And I obviously know how is that guy. In my dream he smokes in the sky, spin his little clock, my eyes. The only thing I heard from him are lies. My dreams I can't lie, in my dreams I can smile, in my dreams I can try like a mortal man. In my dreams I can lie, in my dreams I can smile, in my dreams I can try like a mortal man. If I can be so bold, I'm just holding on. In my dreams I can lie, in my dreams I can smile, in my dreams I can try like a mortal man. In my dreams I can lie, in my dreams I can smile, in my dreams I
It's how you live and learn to let the whole world see, to hold your head up high, but you can't let that hold you back.
Welcome back. I hope you all had a great break and that some of you also tried out the demo outside and got some new learnings. Now we have some really exciting information and some great things to see. So we will see now how Gemini Enterprise takes productivity to the next level. And we will get some great demo, hopefully not as nervous as the last one, about this tool. And I will welcome on stage Jeremy, who is our French Norwegian customer engineer.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So yeah, as Anna-Sophia said, I'm a practice customer engineer here in Oslo, Norway. And I'm a man of not few words, but few slides. So I only have 2 slides, but then I will go over to the demo. But the promise of Gemini Enterprise is to really give you access to the best of Google AI for every employee. So not just the selected few, and for every workflow. That's really the idea in behind the scene. So let's take a quick look back at the slide that Jonathan already mentioned to kind of look into these 6 core components. So you have the brains. So the brains is really based on DeepMind research, access to all the Gemini models. So Gemini Flash Image or Nano Banana, as you may have tried, the generative media models as well, VO, Imagen, and also all the Gemini family with always access to the latest GA version, which is currently 2.5 Pro and 2.5 Flash. 3.0 is just around the corner, so as soon as it will be GA, it will be actually available in Gemini Enterprise directly. And we are happy to also claim that we are the first and only hyperscaler that has first-party models in all the generative media family. So we can produce text, we can produce images, videos, sounds, speech, and that's also like a unique offer, meaning that we should be able to address any challenge you have in creating multimodal content. So the workbench, and that's also something I think which is a little bit different now, is that actually every employee in your organization is now empowered to create agent. And that means that maybe the old kind of idea box that some companies had is now your agent. They can build agent, they can test agent for their own productivity, but also on their business topics or tasks, and they can also share these agents among your organization. So really, that kind of lifts every employee, and you don't really need any kind of technical background, because the ambition here is that you can create those agents with no code. So the task force, so you have now Gemini as your best friend or your helper whenever you chat, but Gemini is not alone. You can basically delegate and orchestrate tasks to the best model to do that task. So deep research for if you have a research question, it will use the data insights agent. If you're asking for I don't know, the last sales figures from BigQuery, for example, it will hand over to the coding agent if you ask for a code snippet or a bug fix. So it's really just going to hand over that to a fleet of agents underneath. And last but not least, that list is not exhaustive. So you can, in the task force, basically bring other agents which are high code from our Vertex AI platform and extend basically the agent feed that you can have access to, both with Gemini models, but also with other models available in Vertex AI, such as Anthropic, Llama, and the likes. The context. So that's very that's the kind of a differentiator, in my opinion, is that the context is first the context window, 1 million token, which is huge, unique on the market today. But it's also the model will only be as good as the data is being trained on, unless you give it a lot of context. And we via Gemini Enterprise can give a lot of context. So we can open all the workspace applications as you saw. So your docs, your slides, your sheets. We can also open the Google Cloud ecosystem, so your databases, your data warehouse in BigQuery, your cloud storage buckets, and also your third-party apps. So we have a range of connectors to actually be able to break the silos and ask your Slack channels, your Jira, your Confluence, your Salesforce, your OneDrive, and so on. So really, this kind of like sits on top of all your data across business functions, and you are able to basically query this data as you wish and get value out of it. For the CISO in the room, governance and security, very important topic. So Gemini Enterprise is really built with ACL or access control in mind. That means that whatever the user does in Gemini is based on his access rights in all the platforms. So for example, you can only see the documents in G Drive that you could see if you were accessing G Drive yourself. Same goes for Slack. You can only retrieve the channels that you are able to see with your identity. So your rights are propagated across all the data sources and data stores. We are also we have the sovereign controls for many countries. So sovereignty is also going to be supported, and we have a compliance with many industry standards, such as health, for example, or defense. And finally, the partner ecosystem. So Gemini Enterprise is not just based on whatever Google can provide, but it's also how you bring your custom agents from other platforms. It uses a lot of open source standards like A2A, A2P, MCP. So it's really kind of here to kind of grow on open source and basically help you bring in agents from your suppliers, your vendors, and basically give you even more agentic capabilities inside Gemini Enterprise at your fingertip. Okay, that was it for the slides. Let's go over to the demo to show you how this looks like. All right. So I'm going to start with showing you actually, if you've been using Gemini application, either the web application or the mobile application, you won't be lost whenever you get over to Gemini Enterprise. This is Gemini application. This is Gemini Enterprise. So I would say the two main components which are different from these two products is that now you basically do not have gems anymore, but you have agents. And also, there was an icon in the search bar which was not available before, which is basically your data sources. Here I have connected a few data sources, but this is really the interface. So, simple interface. It's a chat window basically. So every time you start a new chat, you basically start a new session. And for agent, it means you forget the context. You want to start with a fresh context. You don't want to kind of carry over whatever you've been discussing because you want to keep those discussions a little bit isolated so that the context stays for a given purpose. You can search across your chats and your agents as well with this search tool. You can star some favorite chats, for example, that you can retrieve. You have access to a library of assets which are generated by Gemini Enterprise, so you can quickly go back to them. And then you have a list of agents. So if we open that a little bit, you have first 3 agents provided by Google. So these basically will be enabled for free off the bat. You have the deep research agent, the idea generation agent, and Notebook LM. So you can ask your Notebook LM from Gemini Enterprise. Idea generation is a really nice kind of agent to kind of, if you have a problem to tackle and you don't really know how to get that, idea generation is basically going to be a competition of IDs. So Gemini is going to generate 100 IDs, and then they're going to be ranked against each other, and you will get basically the best ID for that task. Deep research is basically I would say it will give you a full kind of research analysis on a topic and with references, sources, and the likes. You then have access to the agents given or enabled by your organization. So here your Gemini Enterprise Administrator will be able to kind of allow you to use agents from the organizations. These can be either no code or high code. I will give you a quick agent after that. And then basically you have your agents in the end, which are the agents that you're creating in this environment. Okay. So I have a small example. The first one is just to show you like the breadth of things you can do. I've got a couple of files, and I want to summarize those data. So basically, Gemini doesn't know what it is about. They're in different languages. So this one is in English. I've got another one in Italian here. And they're just basically thrown into the chat window, and I'm saying summarize insight from this data. So here, Gemini is able to basically scan those files in different formats. It's able to actually understand that this is an NPS analysis. It will basically classify those documents in 3 categories: promoters, passives, and detractors. He found out that there is basically a gender split also, and it provides the average for each of them. And then it gives you an analysis of the feedback, both positive feedbacks and negative feedbacks. You can then save that file as a CSV, or even copy it and use it further into another document. So what's quite nice about it is that you can also use the multimodality. So you can say, actually summarize all this data into an infographic. And after a few seconds, it will just produce an infographic this way. So again, NPS data insight summary. It gives you the split between gender. It gives you the overall NPS score, and also each subsection between promoters, passives, and detractors. And it also gives you a quick overview of the positive feedbacks and negative feedbacks. So that's something quite easy to do. So, and that's just using the chat window. I haven't done anything. I haven't built any agent. So now let's build an agent. So I've built an agent for the retail sector. And that agent can be built in two ways. So either you use natural language, you describe what you want to do with that agent, and it will basically create that box here pre-filled. And here you could say, I want to create an agent that does visual grounding of my shelves in a retail store. Or you can actually click in here and basically define it yourself with still natural language. So, and again, that's something that your employee needs to become familiar with. There's no either a right or wrong way to do it. You need to kind of try it, and you will find actually which prompts works best, which prompts works less good, and you can always use Gemini to help you prompt as well. So I'm providing a description for that agent and some instructions. I can choose which model I want to use for that agent, and then I can even pre-fill it with some knowledge. So here I've actually added 2 documents. I've added a planogram picture of how the shelf should look like, and also a description of what are the items that should be on the shelves. So I can try this. Let me add a picture. So I'm just going to select it before a visual running agent. I'm going to upload a picture. This one. So it doesn't need any instruction. He already knows that it expects a picture, and it will basically process it. So here you go. And that could be, so here I'm using it, of course, from my computer in the web browser, but you could easily imagine that someone is in the shop and basically takes a picture of the shelf, send it to the agent, and basically gets direct feedback on whether this is compliant with the planogram or whether this is off. Okay. I've got it ready here, so I can just skip over. But basically, so I submitted like all of those different images, so we can look at them. When it's so you can see there's like different shelves and everything. And basically my agent is giving me, based on the reference planogram, it's found out that on the top shelf there should be like 5 Zenith bottles, 6 Aurora, and 6 Vita Drop. On the shelf 2 Ted Pop, Fizz Pop, and Zest and Burst, and basically giving me analysis of each of the pictures. So this is the Plano one, is the one I submitted. So it gave me a score on the overall compliance, 43%, and then basically tells me what was the issue on each of the shelves and basically how to fix it according to the plan. So again, it's not just kind of tell me how to, like what is the problem with it, but really gives me a solution on how to fix it. And this is multimodality off the bat, so I'm not describing anything, I'm not giving any word. It just basically scans 2 documents, scans 2 pictures, and actually makes the difference out of it directly. Okay. I'm gonna look at another agent. So you can also create multiple agent system. So I'll go back to my agents and show you this one. So this one is a sweet agent because it's a poem designer, and uses a sub agent. So this one expects a picture. And here I've got a bit of a kind of a longer or a set of instructions because I want to give this agent a role, some workflow. And in that case, it's going to first look at the picture, generate a small poem in French. It's going to describe the picture. It's going to then I give it some tones for the kind of like the vibe I want in that poem. And then it will basically hand off that poem to a translator agent, which will then basically taking in the text in French and translate it in English and Norwegian. So pretty simple. And if you give this a spin, so this is the lovely picture I've uploaded to my agent and basically described the picture, which is a lively Parisian street scene. It gives me a first poem in French and basically handing it over here to the translator to get the translation both in English and in Norwegian. It gives me the summary, and then I could export this to Sheets, for example, and use that further. Again, these are like it's a very simple example, but just to give you like how quick and how easy it is to actually use sub agents. Agents should not be trying to kind of solve all problems, but they should really kind of be problem specific. And this is where you would really hand over your or delegate one of the action to a sub agent that's specialized for it. In the designer, you probably also saw as well, but if you have connectors available, you could also add connectors to basically link to your data sources and basically use that as a basis for your task. Another functionality here is the scheduling part. So let's say if I wanted to have an agent that in the morning is going to check the GitHub repo for the latest commits, maybe my email box for whatever peer review I need to do, and so on, and gives me, for example, the list of actions I need to perform, or even maybe do it on my behalf if it's authorized. So this is the kind of things you can easily automate, and you can pre-fill what the action should be to that agent when you orchestrate it. Okay. The next example I have is a little bit more, so now we've only worked with no code, but of course you will want to probably use high code agents when, for example, you really want to control the data source that's basically connected to, or if it's like an external connector. Also, no code don't give you yet the ability to test your agent, so you can't evaluate whether the result is good or bad. This is really on the user's premise. So if you have kind of more stricter protocols or stricter rules, you really want to kind of use ADK especially and high code agents to actually have evals and make sure that the, for example, the workflow respects is the same every time you ask the agent. You can do some controls on PII, for example, or do this kind of effects. So really, no code is really nice for your own, I would say, automation, own workflows. But as soon as you will identify business critical agentic workflow, you probably want to go the high code way. And that's not difficult. So this is the core of a small agent. There's a lot of files here, but I'm not going to do a lot of coding here. But basically, this is a very simplistic agent that will welcome you and take in a year in Arabic format. From that year, it will find a fun fact. And then based on that fun fact, it will ask Imagen to generate a futuristic picture of that fun fact. So this is the code that's basically that's only necessary. I've deployed that agent in Agent Engine in Vertex AI, and then from that I'm able to actually reuse it in Gemini Enterprise. So for your end users, the interface is exactly the same. So that means that I'm going to go here. Oh, sorry. No worries. Up, you're in. So this is my fact agent. It looks exactly the same as the no-code agent that I've demoed before. And here I can say hi. So it needs to warm up, but so this is actually calling the agent sitting in Agent Engine. This is kicking the Agent Engine, which will kind of run on Cloud Run behind the scene. And then it will basically handle the intern communication afterwards. All right. Okay, let's any volunteer for a year. Okay, that will pick what's something one. 2001. Let's see. All right, so Apple released the first iPod. Okay, I'm curious about what it's going to produce. See, we're already cloud agnostic. We work with a... And there you go. So that was not generated by Nano Banana, but really I called Imagen to actually generate that still and paste it in my chat window. Cool. The last thing I wanted to see is that right now we've done basically a lot of the agents have been used to actually retrieve data, combine data, create insights or knowledge about data. But really, the next wave really is actions. So some of our connectors have actions built in. For example, calendar and email. So as you can see here, they have actions that you can either enable or disable. And this means that in that case, a small widget is available by the connector to be placed directly into a Gemini Enterprise. So that means that you don't have to leave the environment where you work in, but you can, for example, give me a list of all my important meetings this afternoon. It will basically just go and ask your calendar, retrieve them, and then create a new one between meeting 1 and 2, for example. It will do that on your behalf. So here it's the same as well. If you're basically using a Gemini to kind of produce some content and you're happy with it, you can say, okay, use that content and then send an email to. It should. All right. I think I should have all the actions and permissions. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's this is the demo gods. So, but trust me, it will show it will show a widget inside the window, and I will start a new one here. Let's say, hi, I want to send an email to Jeremy at google.com. And the subject is news. The body is try Gemini Enterprise. It's the best thing since sliced bread. You can't say it. Okay. Sorry about this. I can promise you it works. I was aiming for error-free demo, but no, something had to go wrong. But yeah, you got the gist. So, like the takeaway really is this: do not be afraid to expose your employees to this technology. Be cautious on releasing connectors, and because that like it needs a bit of a kind of a training and understanding. But I think already there's a lot of value just exposing that tool to your employees. They will create lots of agents. It's a good way for you to actually capture those agents and understand what are people trying to do, and maybe actually take some of these no-code agents into a high-code one that you can then deliver to your entire organization. So jump on the train. All right, and I guess I will exit this one now and leave the word to one of my customers, actually, Thomas. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. That's very, very inspiring. So I hope everyone thinks they want to go and try it if they haven't already done so. We will now get a client on stage. Abax is one of our dear clients that we've been working with for a while, and Thomas Ornell is a cloud solution architect and is going to talk to you and inspire you on the work that they are doing with agentic AI. So welcome on stage.
There you go. Sounds like I have audio at least. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what ABAX is currently doing on the AI front, at least internally towards our internal organization. More specifically on what we're doing towards customer service and what our plans are moving forward. My name is Thomas Ornell. I'm the cloud solution architect in ABAX and acting CISO as well. Interesting combination of roles. I own our cloud platforms for all the ABAX brands. I am leading the cloud initiatives for our 80 technical people and 20 product people internally in the organization. My background is primarily technical, which means that I like playing with tech stuff, obviously, which also means that I'm usually an early adopter of anything new and shiny. Also, usually painful, if we're honest here. Let's see. Okay, so ABAX today tracks about 550,000 assets. That makes us the Nordic leader and second position in Europe, to my understanding, on the telematics market. And then the question usually becomes, what is an asset? In this context, an asset could be a car, it could be an excavator, it could be something as small as a power drill. We have a pretty wide range of things we track. So, the state of AI within ABAX in the first place. There we go. A little bit of delay. Pretty much every vendor we talk to really wants to be our AI hub. Our PBX solution just announced that, oh, look at all this new AI functionality. It's amazing. Probably is. Same did our project management tool. Cool. Different slides there and there. This leaves us in a position where basically we have salespeople calling random people in random departments saying, hey, we have this nice tool to solve insert problem here. It solves that one problem, does not work as a whole for the organization. That in itself increases the shadow AI risk significantly within the organization. But as CISO as well, shadow AI is so much more scary than fragmented tooling. To prevent early adoption of unsanctioned AI tools, we early on rolled out our own internal chat solution for our employees to use all the major LLM providers. But that was always designed as a temporary stopgap measure. It was never supposed to be permanent. Another nicety we've had the last year is that we're actively migrating to HubSpot as our CRM at the moment. That gives us quite a few possibilities. We're migrating from a CRM solution that I wouldn't define it as modern, to put it that way. HubSpot provides very nice APIs for us to be able to extract the data we need to be able to build a good experience for our organization. But the key point here is that before control internally is entirely lost, we need to make sure that we get it back. And we were heading towards a state where that control was being eroded away. And then the question becomes, why start with customer support? There's a couple of reasons for that. The biggest one is that we have good, clean data sources for customer service. They have what they call Cleverbot, which is the internal knowledge base for customer service. Cleverbot is a set of web pages, not really a bot, but that grinds my technical gears here. HubSpot gives us large opportunities when it comes to data availability. And customer service managed to describe some very clear pain points we actually could solve. And with the CRM migration, for those who have been part of a CRM migration or an ERP migration, they're never fun for anyone involved. Customer service was hit quite hard, especially when a country was halfway in the old solution, halfway in the new solution. Where do I reply to my ticket? Things like that might annoy your employees a little bit. Not to mention your customers, to put it that way. On the bright side, this gives us a huge upside to give them a pleasant experience now, which is what we're doing. Now, if I'm allowed to go to the next screen, there we go. The approach we've been taking, Jeremy demonstrated the visual agent builder within Gemini Enterprise. That was our starting point. We started collecting data sources, started to build prototypes and test, is this idea viable? Turns out that it was. It was actually quite helpful. So we started moving on to migrate everything into ADK. The reason for that was we wanted to be able to create our own actions, read from third-party data sources that weren't fully supported, and we needed additional guardrails. That migration is currently nearing its end now. So there's what I'm going to show you today are prototypes, right? So bear with me when we get there. We are, however, heading into the continuous improvement phase here, which is where the fun happens, in my opinion. So let's see here. I'm hoping that Murphy will be kind to me today. We'll see. stop sharing this one and start sharing the other one instead. There we go. Oh, I can tell the delay here is going to be great now. Okay, so this is our back office tooling. And now before I can show you the actual debugging in the agent, I'm going to show you how the debugging is done currently. I know I've been working in ABAX for a decade at this point. I know technically how you do it. I couldn't figure out what's wrong with any of this. That comes down to this is based on experience, gut feeling, and just intuition. That is something that is very hard to teach. So let's go into one of our demo accounts. I'm going into data sources because one of our data sources is failing. I head into the device that I know is failing. So far, so good. I head into a telemetry log, which is this one. Maybe, there we go. This one is a little bit fun. This is based on Google BigQuery, which means that it's literally pay to click here. Good for you, Google, right, Vegard? You're in charge of cost here. Please close your eyes. I'm not doing 50,000 lines, I promise. So there you go. These are the events received by our RFID card reader. We can go into statistic events. Those are usually, at least customer service is telling me, where they start looking for things. And then we can have a look at things like sensor data. I love the user friendliness of this, by the way. And here you can get relevant information like card statistics. These are different kind of RFID cards with different frequencies, and you have a fail rate and a success rate. This probably tells you something. You have things like temperature with the device. I don't know if you noticed earlier, this is in Finland, which explains the minus 13 degrees here. There's also been a fairly hot summer day in Finland, apparently, where the inside of the car was 74 degrees. Might not have been great for the device. Don't know. This is the kind of typical journey that our customer service does to figure out what is actually wrong with the device when it doesn't work for the customer. And then they don't do this once. They do this through tens or hundreds of messages to figure out what is going on. Not something that can be easily taught, and it's quite time consuming. Second scenario, I'll go into my own thingy here. Again, back to data sources. I have one device here that is actually failing. That stopped working a little while ago. I can go into the easy diagnostic screen. This is very nice. This was a huge improvement when it was launched. In this case, it doesn't really tell me anything else than thing be broken. Can go to telemetry log again. Can search here. I know when this device stopped working because I was supposed to deliver my trip log with this device 2 weeks later. And then I can do like this. What you can tell from the log here is that we attempted to reset the device a couple of days ago to make it work. It didn't, sadly. The device here is actually defective. And then the last event we got from this one was 1st of October 25. Usually this is a device you replace. Replacing a device comes with a significant cost as well, right? We pay for that hardware, which means that if we can figure out what's wrong and actually fix it instead of replacing it, there's a significant cost saving there as well. So this is the background. This is where we're coming from. The wow factor here for our customer service team might not be super hard to reach. And obviously, I'm putting things at the point here, but I think you're getting what I mean here. Gemini Enterprise, hello. We talked about RFID readers before. Let's see here. one of the common scenarios, the RFID reader we have in the cars are connected to a single ABAX device. They only work if they're physically near that device, which means that if a customer takes that RFID reader and puts it in the wrong car, it might work in the parking lot if the right car is next to it. When you start driving, park, and then try to connect your reader again, then it stops working. That's when we get the angry call. So then let's ask the question. This is normally where I start saying please and thank you, just in case. This is going through our internal data lake. That's been used for deep debugging in the past. Huh, it worked. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. That's good. So what it tells me here is this is the serial number on the RFID device. This is the serial number on the ABAX device where it's supposed to be. Might be helpful, not necessarily as helpful for the customer. They might not have kept track on which device they installed in which car. Could you just say what you're writing? Yeah, I can also zoom, I've heard. There we go, fancy.
Now you got the wow factor.
Now we're entering Murphy territory. This one works about 80% of the time, depending if the customer actually has registered the registration number of the car. Fingers crossed. Oh, come on, please. There we go. This makes it a lot easier for customer service to tell the customer what to do. Check that the RFID reader is actually in the right car. That's one scenario here. I'm going to move this box so I can see what I'm doing. Then they might get a call from a customer. This is a quite common thing, like, are you ISO compliant? They have either been acquired by a new company, they are trying to get ISO certified themselves, or insert a million other reasons why they would care about this. In these cases, we have PiaBot. Pia is our responsible person for compliance. This is an internal code name for now. She also hates this code name with a passion, which makes it likely that it will stick. Zooming a bit again. This digs down into our QMS system and brings out the information we have there about our ISO certifications. This is pretty cool. ISO is easy. Things like compliance might be significantly harder. Then we can go in here and I can ask the question, how do we do encryption? I might be optimistic now. I'm pushing boundary. I'm pushing my luck. Yep, we'll see. Worst case, it doesn't work. When this one is loading, for the last part, I'm going to query HubSpot directly. There's a caveat here. We're actively, at the same time as me being on stage here, migrating the last region into HubSpot, which means that we are not being very nice to the HubSpot API at the moment. They might actually block me when I'm trying this, so we'll see. There you go. This is the correct answers, it looks like. And it provides sources for where it found information. This is important when you need confidence when you actually answer the customer. Previously, when we get requests from this, like this from a customer, they get escalated to me. This makes me very happy. Okay, last example. Do note prototype. There we go. I did warn you. Let's try to refresh and try again. On this one, we are only trying to call the HubSpot API. We're thinking. There we go. Again, prototype, it's telling me exactly what it's doing. So if something goes horribly wrong, then I can actually figure out what's happening. There we go. Can I get a summary of ticket number? And apparently I cannot. Pushed it too far, clearly. Nope, I guess not. Oh, well. Let's move back to PowerPoint. Present something else window, and there we go. One failed, the rest okay. That is not too bad. So, a little bit of extra detail here. When debugging devices, the customer service agents doesn't necessarily figure out what's wrong themselves, so they escalate. If the people they escalate to can't figure it out, it gets escalated to the first line on the technical side of the organization. That time is super expensive, both in terms of salary, but more importantly on opportunity, right? These people are very often involved in pretty much everything technical that happens in the business because they have so much domain knowledge internally, because they have to have that domain knowledge, which means that any escalation we can prevent here is super valuable internally. So this is actually pretty cool. And these are obviously based on preliminary tests we've been doing, right? So take them with a grain of salt. But according to our customer service team, debugging devices, usually around 15 minutes. They've been debugging the same devices by hand and then checking it through Gemini Enterprise, and we're down to somewhere between 3 and 5, assuming that the API is available. That is a massive saving on time. Time that could be spent doing proactive things to keep our customers happy. And then the hard parts here are, from my perspective, not the technical ones. The difficult things here is to, for at least for us, sift through 15 to 20 years of internal documentation and knowledge and figure out both, is this thing still valid and is it useful? So a significant amount of data archaeology, basically. And as a technical person, I might not be the correct person to evaluate, is this sales presentation still valid? We've had instances where the question, what's the address to our Finland office? Should be fairly straightforward, right? Except that the source it based that answer on was from, I think it was 2009 or something, and that office no longer exists. In fact, the building that office was in no longer exists. Making sure that the sources you have is clean is both one of the most important things we've been doing here and the most challenging. And obviously, the RFID demo I showed you here, that is based on things like, it's based on BigQuery data, a lot of BigQuery data. That can be interpreted, which is also why we need the ADK, because we need to provide a guardrails on how to interpret the data we provide you. Because if we don't, Gemini might have opinions on what things mean. Those opinions might or might not be correct. It happens. It's the same as if I gave the same raw data to a human and they made assumption on what it actually means. Lastly, building good prompts can be challenging. I like to say that communication with humans are hard. It's not very different when you're talking to an LLM. I think Vegard has heard me complaining about working with AI is sometimes like arguing with a toddler. You can get to 90% and then full stop. Top tip there, take a step back, try again. Whole different approach, just, yeah, save yourself some time. The strategy for ABAX moving forward is going to be rapid prototyping. We have different departments in the organization now that has started coming up with ideas of problems they want solved with agents. So our plan moving forward is, yet again, use the visual agent builder to test, is this idea valid to actually solve for? If it is, then we move into iteration mode, which means full ADK in most cases. Build, test, fail, repeat. We have, and I'm super happy about this, we've actually have quite a bit of engagement internally on people are super excited to actually solve day-to-day problems. And of course, one of the first things we will be rolling out to the entirety of the organization is an internal knowledge base. But that knowledge base, again, most difficult problem, make sure it's actually valid. So that is ongoing work that involves pretty much every department within our organization. And that takes time. We like to brag that ABAX is in the position we are today because we were early about innovation and we've been innovating consistently ever since. There's no way we're going to let this pass us by. So yeah, I think that was it.
Thank you so much. What a great use case to save 80% of the time and with Gemini Enterprise. Do anyone have any questions? Yes, here.
How early you start using the Google? Have your company always been using the Google technology, or is it just like newly?
We migrated to Google Cloud late 2019. So that's been a process for a very long time. We used to reside both on-prem in one of the competitive clouds, but we consolidated in Google in 2019. And our data lake, which is important in the context of AI, maybe you can help me here, Daniel, 2020, 2021-ish? Oh, yeah. So yeah, the effect of the data lake being in Google Cloud has been massive for us, super valuable. Yeah.
Oh, how are you addressing the master data management issue that you talked about?
Come again?
How are you addressing the master data management issue?
People.
Yeah.
Basically, departments have to review their own documents, and then especially on the commercial side of the business, it's end up with discussions like, do we still have this feature? Or is this actually how this works? And then there's been a lot of digging to figure out what actually is the truth here. I must say, I kind of love the data, the RQMS system as a data source, because that is very straightforward.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming here today, and we're looking forward to continue the journey with you as well. So very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will wrap up now this day or half day, and I hope you have had some inspiration to how you can start with agents and the shifts we see now from just 2025 to 2026. I mean, this is all happening so quickly. That is like half a year ago, it was a different world. I think summary, first of all, I also want to thank some of our partners, Computas and Devoteam, that we are working with also here today on agents. And for everyone who's been on stage, I think I have seen or heard 3 topics. One is around security and governance and how important that is to think about, that you have control over your data and yeah, everything around that. The second thing is that everyone is an AI business developer. The fact that people in many different roles can think, how can I work? How can I innovate? How can I automate? And this step to start thinking, you know, how can I start making an agent? If you're sitting in the marketing department, it is a step. Or if you're an HR department, or if you're in finance, but it's quite easy to get started here. And then, of course, if you're going to work towards an agentic future, you have to have an ecosystem around you with all the agents, all the LLMs, all the connectors and everything, all the partners, I guess, also working together with you. So thank you so much for today, and thank you for coming here to our event.